Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. As a way of introduction, my name is Christiana and I am KCOM's recruitment advisor. I have been with the business for just over 9 months and I am responsible for the day-to-day recruitment, which includes advertising vacancies, sourcing, screening and interviewing potential candidates, and also offering on the hiring manager's behalf. Today on our agenda, we will cover the following things. So who are KCOM? What is the purpose of an interview? Preparing for an interview, interview tips, anticipating what the employer wants, types of interviews, video interviews, and STAR technique and competency questions. So let's start with a small introduction to KCOM. So who are KCOM? In a nutshell, it is a communications and IT solutions provider to homes and businesses in Hull and East Yorkshire region. We were founded in 1904. We now have over 140,000 customers in Hull and East Yorkshire region, and we are carrying on with our expansion. KCOM provides award-winning network, and we have invested heavily in full fibre broadband in East Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire. We currently have 1,600 employees working in Hull and around the UK, and we have offices in Hull, Ipswich, London, Exeter and Wakefield. Worth mentioning on here is that one of our greatest achievements to date is that we have completed first stage of our Lightstream full fibre network, making Hull the fastest, most connected broadband city in the world in 2019. So that's a little bit about KCOM there, and we are now going to dive into the most important bit, and we will start off by looking at what is the purpose of an interview. So I guess here the point is it depends on which way you look at it. You could look at it from the employer's perspective. So what they would be thinking on the interview is that, you know, they would be thinking, can you do the job? Are you willing to do the job? And, you know, will you fit in? And from your you'll probably be thinking, can you do this job? Do you actually want to do this job? And how does this position fit in to your overall career plans? So that would be the purpose of an interview. On the next slide, we will look at the fact that preparation is the key. So what things could you potentially prepare for an interview? The first thing would be is that you have to understand the role requirements. So read the job description. What skills, qualities are required? Have you got them? Think about what you have done in the past that is similar to the role requirements to this position. Think of some examples you could talk about on the day. Also, when preparing, do your research. Research of the company online, check their website and what they do. This will indicate to the interviewer you are genuinely interested in their company and what they do. Also, have a look at common interview questions. And just to give you some examples here, the most common questions would be something like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Why have you applied for this role? Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years' time? And why do you want to leave your current company? So just have a think on how you could potentially answer those if you get asked them. Another very good tip for when preparing for an interview is think about questions you could ask to your potential employer. Some example questions would be, can you offer specific details about the position's day-to-day responsibilities? What would my first week at work look like? What do you enjoy about working for the company? And does the company support career progression? When you ask these type of questions, obviously, again, this will indicate to the potential employer that you are driven and obviously very keen to work within their organization. So have a think, do your research and prepare some questions in advance. Moving on to the next slide, we will look at some interview tips. So best tips here would be know where you're going or where you need to be, dress appropriately, be on time, leave a good first impression, think about your body language, and also consider good talking skills, but also good listening skills. So just to give you some in-depth sort of breakdown, know where you're going or where you need to be. So know exactly where you're going and how you're getting there. Check the date, time and address well in advance so that you can plan ahead. When considering the dress code, make sure that you know if you can show up casually, dress casually, or, if a business dress is required. So do, understand that in advance. Be on time. So best advice is that you're there early rather than late. Ring ahead if your car, train, bus breaks down. Make a good first impression. You only get one chance. So make sure that you're polite, you're smiling, you're positive, and also let them know that you're excited to be there and excited for the potential, career opportunity or a job opportunity. Also, consider your body language. Display a positive body language, maintaining a good eye contact. Consider how you sit, don't cross the arms or appear uninterested. Talking and listening. So when answering questions with full sentences and giving relative examples, it is just as important as listening and staying focused on what the interviewers are saying. So talking, listening should be equally good and effective. So these would be the main interview tips. We will now look at the next slide. And here we are covering on anticipate what the employer wants and how you can demonstrate that. And these are just some examples on how you would like or may like portray yourself. So obviously smiling, being positive, show them that you're a team player, energetic, creative, listen carefully, show them that you can be reliable, organized, presentable, ask a lot of questions, make sure you're engaged throughout. So think about how you want to present yourself and what your future employer may be looking for. Okay. On the next slide, we are going to look at types of interviews. And these are only a few. Obviously, there's a lot more out there, but we will cover just a few here. So the first one will be competency-based interview, then the telephone interview, video interview, group interview, and finally assessment centres. So just to go into a bit more detail to each and one of these, let's have a look at the competency-based interview. So these are interviews that require you to give examples of specific skills. The interviewer will ask questions about different competencies that will help them determine if you have the skill required for the specific job. Phone interview. So while you're actively searching for a job, you may need to be prepared for a phone interview on a moment's notice. Companies often start with an unscheduled phone call to help them select a small number of candidates to invite to actual interviews. So it's good to be ready and prepared to ask the interviewer questions as well. In terms of video interviews, they are becoming more and more common and can take place over Microsoft Teams, Zoom or Skype, depending on what the company prefers. Usually both your camera and the panel's camera is on, so that you can see each other sort of face to face, just like you would in a normal interview setting. In terms of the group interviews, employers may hold a group interview because they're often more efficient than one-on-one interviews. There are two different types of group interviews. So one involves an applicant being interviewed by a group or a panel of interviewers, and the other involves the interviewer and a group of applicants. Either way, obviously, you will be assessed accordingly for the role. And then finally, assessment centres. Again, these are becoming more and more popular. These can take place either in person or virtually over Teams, Skype or Zoom. They usually involve a variety of tasks, such as a group discussion with other candidates, a practical assessment and an interview. All the assessments will obviously be relevant to assess whether or not you can carry out the role. So these are just some types of interviews there. We are now going to have a look at video interviews. As I mentioned earlier, obviously these are becoming more and more popular in the given environment, and obviously due to the current circumstances. So what are the few things to think about when having a video interview? And here we are listing, obviously, environment, internet, audio, video, any distractions, what do you need, and of course, body language. So when we think about the environment, what we would advise is that you find a quiet, private, well-lit place, free from possible interruptions. Ensure your internet connection is stable. So connect direct with the cable to your hub if possible at all, as it is more reliable than connecting, through the Wi-Fi. Check that your computer's audio is working and test your computer's webcam before you begin. Think about your background. Is it clear and clutter-free, so it won't distract the candidate? And what will you wear? We suggest that you avoid bright colours, as this could be one of the potential disruptions. It could be very easy to get distractions, so close any unnecessary web browser tabs and applications, move your phone out of reach or turn it face down. And then also consider, do you have what you need? Because you might need a pen, a notepad, a copy of your CV on your desk, perhaps a bottle of water. So make sure you have this all in front of you so that you don't have to sort of leave the meeting to get any of those things. And finally, let's consider the body language. It is just as important as when you're being interviewed face to face. So make sure you sit up straight. If you have dual monitors, make sure to look at the screen with the camera. When you're listening to the questions asked, nod and smile to show you are engaged and that you are listening carefully. Use, obviously, hand gestures when appropriate, and be aware of your facial expressions. Okay, of course, with the technology, sorry, just going back on the video interviews, the last slide, things can go wrong. And what do you need to do when things do go wrong? So say, for example, if your video or audio stops working, so before an interview, ask the interviewer for a phone number where you can actually reach them if you're experiencing any technical difficulties. If the video cuts out, call them at that number. Ask if you can continue the interview by phone or if you can reschedule. Say, for example, if noise interrupts the conversation, apologise for the interruption and ask for a few moments until the noise has subsided. You may want to mute the microphone if the noise is quite severe. And then, say, for example, if somebody enters the room unexpectedly, so it could be a family member, a housemate, or even a pet, apologise to the interviewers, ask them for a few moments, mute your microphone and turn off your camera, and then obviously step away to deal with the interruption. Make sure that your room is secure before beginning the interview again. And really important to mention on here is that obviously, if any of the technical interruptions do happen, do not be worried about being marked down for that or potentially being refused a job. We all understand that within this new environment, relying on technology is something that not always goes right. So don't worry about if these things do happen. Okay, now we will be looking at a slightly interesting technique. It's called STAR technique. And so what that does, it is actually a way of helping you provide a good example to a competency-based question, as it ensures your answers are detailed enough, providing all the information required. So STAR stands for situation, task, action and result. Typically, a competency question will start with a phrase such as describe a time when, or share an example of a situation where. So what you will do using the STAR technique, first, you will obviously consider the situation. And here you will describe the situation you were in performing the task. So for example, perhaps you were working on a group project. So here you can provide examples from work experience, school, volunteering, or any other relevant event. Just try to be as specific as possible. Then you will think about the task. And here you will describe your responsibility in that situation. Perhaps you had to help your group to complete a project within a tight deadline, or you had to hit a sales target. Then you will look at action. You will describe how you completed a task or tried to meet the challenge. Focus on what you did rather than what your team or manager did. So the tip here would be, instead of saying we did XYZ, you have to say I did XYZ. And then finally, result. Explain the outcomes of the result by the actions taken. It may be helpful to emphasize what you accomplished or what you learned. So hopefully this technique will help you to answer your competency-based questions better. On the next slide, I will cover or give you 3 different competency question examples. So here are 3 examples of competency-based questions where you would need to provide a specific example. So the first one, tell me about a time when you have had to adapt your own style to work effectively with others in a team. Here, the interviewer is trying to understand how well you could work within a team and how you may work with others to achieve results. The second one, give me an example of a time when you believe you really went the extra mile and exceeded a customer's expectations. So this is around customer service and how you may deal with customers. Do you treat customers fairly, and are you willing to go the extra mile, or do you just do the minimum required? And then finally, the third one, tell us about a time when you had to work a deadline. This is around planning and organizing your time effectively. So here the interviewer is trying to understand key priorities and can you plan your work accordingly. So only 3 examples. Obviously, there's many more competency-based questions, but I'm hoping that this will help you to understand what the interviewer is trying to get from you. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, and I hope you have found this useful, and good luck with your interviews. Thank you.